Two people just read the same text message. One feels their chest tighten, and they type a reply before they've even finished reading it. The other reads it twice, sets the phone down, and waits. Same message. Same information. Completely different outcome, because one of them is reacting to what just happened, and the other is already calculating what happens next. What if the biggest advantage in life was never intelligence, or luck, or talent? What if it was simply this seeing the next move before everyone else does? Most people live one moment at a time. They respond to the insult, then the regret, then the damage control, then the apology they didn't want to give. There's a different way of moving through the world, one that doesn't ask what is happening. It asks what happens next. Then what happens after that? Then what does this decision build or destroy? In this video, you're going to learn the exact mental framework behind thinking several moves ahead, controlling your reactions, reading patterns instead of moments, anticipating consequences before they arrive, and making decisions before emotion makes them for you. This isn't about predicting the future. It's about never being ambushed by the present. By the end of this video, you'll have a system you can use today, in the next conversation you have, the next decision you make, the next time your emotions try to make a choice for you. Stop reacting. Start anticipating. There are two operating systems the human mind runs on. The first is reactive. Something happens, emotion spikes, you respond, and only afterward do you deal with what you've created. The second is strategic. Something happens, you pause, you observe, you predict, and only then do you respond. The reactive mind is fast, but it's blind. It's built for survival, not for strategy. It evolved to answer one question: is this dangerous right now? Not what will this cost me in a week? Here's the practical shift. Before you respond to anything that actually matters, ask 4 questions, silently, in this order. What happens if I do this? What happens if I don't? What's the most likely consequence? And what happens after that consequence arrives? 4 questions, 10 seconds. That's the entire difference between a reactive life and a strategic one. Think about the last argument you regretted, not the one where you were wrong, but the one where you were right and still lost, because you reacted instead of anticipating where the words would land. Bruce Wayne understood this long before he put on the mask. He didn't fight crime out of rage. Rage is reactive. He built an entire identity around anticipation. Instead, every choice engineered around what happens 3, 4, 5 moves from now. Master the pause. This might be the single most powerful skill in this entire video. A few seconds of emotional distance can completely rewrite a decision. Before you reply to a message that stung you, before you respond to criticism, before an expensive purchase, before you quit on a goal that's simply gotten hard, before you say the sentence you can't take back, you pause. Here's the system. 5 steps, and you can use it today, starting with the very next thing that irritates you. Stop, breathe, observe, choose, act. Stop means physically interrupting the impulse, put the phone down. Step back from the conversation. Close the laptop before you hit send. Breathe means slowing your body down, because your nervous system decides half your decisions before your brain gets a vote. Observe means asking what's actually true here, versus what you're only feeling in this exact second. Choose means selecting a response on purpose, weighing it. Instead of letting the fastest impulse win by default, act means executing it calmly, without apology for having taken the time to think. Try this the next time someone criticizes your work, or your appearance, or a decision you made. Count to 5 before you speak. Notice how much of your first reaction quietly disappears in those 5 seconds. Calm isn't weakness. Calm is what strategic advantage looks like from the outside. Think in consequences. Most people ask one question before they act: what do I get right now? Strategic thinkers ask a different one: what does this create later? This is called second-order thinking, and it changes everything once you start using it. Skipping one workout doesn't ruin your body, 1 hour of scrolling doesn't ruin your day, one impulsive purchase doesn't ruin your finances, one small lie doesn't ruin your relationships, but repeat any of those for 30 days and you'll find they've quietly built the exact future you swore you didn't want. So before a decision, ask yourself this: if I repeat this behavior for the next 30 days, where does it take me? Apply it to money. One impulsive purchase feels harmless, but 30 of them is a pattern you'll spend a year undoing. That single question turns invisible habits into visible consequences, and once you can see them, you can choose them, instead of drifting into them without noticing. Read patterns, not moments. One bad day doesn't define a person. One mistake doesn't reveal a character, but repetition does. Strategic thinkers train themselves to notice patterns, repeated excuses, repeated mistakes, repeated emotional reactions, repeated opportunities that keep showing up in disguise, dressed differently each time. This isn't about reading minds, it's about separating 3 things that most people blur together: what you know, what you assume, and what you predict. What you know is fact, what you assume is a guess dressed up as fact, and what you predict is a calculated possibility, held loosely, ready to be updated the moment new evidence arrives. Confusing these 3 is how people make confident decisions based on nothing. Separating them is how you make careful decisions based on evidence. Watch someone's behavior over weeks, not over a single conversation, and you'll learn more about them than any promise they've ever made you. Ask what happens next. Here's a simple exercise you can start using today, in almost any situation you find yourself in. Whenever something happens, force yourself to mentally simulate the next few moves. Like you're playing out a chessboard 3 turns ahead. Someone criticizes you. What happens if you react emotionally? And what happens if you stay calm? Someone offers you an opportunity. What happens if you accept immediately? And what happens if you investigate first? Someone tries to pull your attention away. What happens if you give them 10 minutes? And what happens when those 10 minutes quietly become 2 hours you'll never get back? Your boss sends a vague, tense message before a meeting. What happens if you spiral all night imagining the worst? And what happens if you simply prepare your response and wait for facts? This is how a strategic mind spends its energy, not reacting to the moment in front of it, but tracing the chain of moments it's about to set in motion. It's the same instinct that lets a detective walk into a room and see 5 seconds into the future of every choice inside it. Not magic, just the discipline of always asking one move further than everyone else in the room. Control your emotional reaction: fear, anger, excitement, jealousy, desperation. Every one of these narrows your attention down to the present moment, and nothing else. That narrowing feels urgent, but it's actually a trap. It's your mind trading your future judgment for immediate relief. Emotional regulation isn't softness, it's strategy. Here's how to practice it, step by step. Slow your breathing before you respond. Delay the reply by even a few minutes, even if it feels unbearable in the moment. Name the emotion out loud. This is anger, this is fear, because naming it disarms it and pulls it out of your body and into your awareness. Write the decision down before you commit to it. Change your physical state. Stand up, walk, drink water, because emotion lives in the body as much as it lives in the mind. And ask one final question before any major decision: would I still choose this if I were completely calm? If the answer is no, you already have your answer, even if you don't want to admit it yet. Prepare before the problem arrives. Most people prepare after failure. Strategic thinkers prepare before it ever shows up, before an important meeting, a difficult conversation, an exam, a launch, a new habit. Ask 3 questions in advance. While you still have the luxury of time: what could go wrong here? What would I do if it did? And what can I prepare for it right now, while I still have the advantage of time on my side? The person who rehearses a hard conversation in their head isn't being paranoid. They're building a version of themselves who won't freeze when it actually happens. This is the entire philosophy behind a utility belt. It isn't about having gadgets. It's about refusing to walk into uncertainty unprepared, when preparation was always sitting there, available, waiting to be used. Learn to see what others miss. Distraction is the enemy of awareness, and most people are distracted almost constantly, scrolling through the very moments they should be reading carefully. Training your attention is simple, even if it isn't easy. Notice details instead of skimming past them. Listen more than you speak. Especially when you're certain you already know what someone's going to say, watch for what changes, not just what stays the same. Question your assumptions before you act on them. Look for inconsistencies between what someone says and what they repeatedly, quietly do. This isn't a superpower, and it was never meant to be one. It's ordinary observation, practiced on purpose, day after day, until it stops feeling ordinary. Make decisions like your future self is watching. Ask yourself, before anything that matters, will future me thank me for this, or resent me for it? What problem am I creating for tomorrow, just to feel better today? What advantage am I quietly building, even when no one's watching me build it? What am I trading away for a few minutes of comfort right now? Picture yourself 1 year from today, looking back at this exact decision. Would that version of you nod in approval or wince? This single mindset shift changes discipline, money, fitness, relationships, and career. All at once, because it stops treating future you as a stranger and starts treating them as someone you're personally responsible to. Become the person who thinks ahead. Here's the deeper truth underneath everything you've just learned. Being mentally ahead was never about knowing everything that's coming. It's about refusing to let the present moment run your entire future. Pause, observe, predict, prepare, act, review, repeat. That's the whole system, and it works because it interrupts the one thing that destroys strategic thinking speed without direction. The real transformation isn't complicated. It's the shift from asking, "Why did this happen to me?" to asking, "What could happen next, and what can I do about it right now, before it does?" That's what separates a man in a cave with nothing from a man who becomes exactly what the world needed him to be, one calculated decision at a time. You don't need to predict everything that's coming. You don't need to read every mind in the room. You don't need to control the future. You only need to stop living entirely inside the present moment. Pause before you react. Look past the obvious. Think in consequences, not impulses. Prepare while you still have the time to. Then, act with control, not with panic. If you're done reacting to your own life and you're ready to start thinking a few moves ahead of it, comment "Think Ahead," not because you know exactly what tomorrow holds, but because for the first time, you'll actually be ready for it,